funny how quickly things can fall apart. One day it seems like you have all the time in the world, and then the next, it's gone.
What was that all about? It's supposed to be an upbeat episode. All right, check it out. Invincible is another show where a writer asked, what if Superman, but bad? In this case with Robert Kirkman's graphic novel, and now on Amazon in all its over-the-top glory. Like most everyone who watched Invincible, I loved it. It surprised me. The ending of the first episode where Did I say spoilers? Spoilers. I'm gonna spoil every single critical moment of the show, so go away or stay and be spoiled. Anyway, the end of the pilot where Omni-Man is revealed is so dead nuts perfectly crafted. I actually want to talk about a different scene, but this show got me to drop my jaw in its first episode. Every pre-credits scene is a generic superhero story setup. A slight twist from the norm, focusing on a family rather than an individual, but by and large, bad guys attack the White House and extremely cliche heroes show up to save the day. Very minimal blood, violence seems to be toned down even when compared to like the Batman cartoon. And then BAM! Headsplosion! A complete and total tone shift, and most importantly, a betrayal of what we're expecting. The first twist isn't just a narrative twist, it's a genre and visual twist that lets us know what the Guardians of the Globe felt. Well, at least from the surprise standpoint, this looks painful. The point is, outstanding setup for what to expect from the show, the unexpected. And that brings us to this scene. Mark has just learned that his father is a villain, and not just a villain in the, come on, let's rule together, no biggie, it'll be fun kind of way. He's a psychopath who murdered all the other superheroes just so he'd have an easier time taking over. And in a matter of a few minutes, Mark learns that his dad has no concern for human life and arguably doesn't care about life at all, like to an insane degree. It had been hinted at when he went to the Flaxen planet, but I think that most of us were holding out hope that this was an isolated incident, or maybe not isolated, but like maybe he was just mad because they beat up Mark.
Earth isn't yours to conquer.
I mean, sure, but as humans, I guess we assume everyone likes us and we're special. Plus, he had a human wife.
She's more like a pet to me.
Right. Point taken. There's no excuse. Nolan comes from the might is right school of thought, on steroids. I find it interesting how absolutely garbage his logic is and how similar it is to, let's say, those that subscribe to the might is right philosophy and how it exposes their garbage logic. Admitting that your partner and mother of your son is no more important to you than a golden doodle because she only lives a fraction of your life and therefore doesn't matter is utter nonsense. And look, I know about the theory of how time works for immortal beings, where years start to feel like days, and it does make sense, but no one is immortal, so we'll never know for sure. The most likely outcome is that you'd go insane, aliens notwithstanding. But for starters, I wouldn't kill my dog simply because she has a much shorter lifespan, and when people's hamsters or chameleons or even beta fish die, they're generally pretty freaking sad about it. I mean, my 1-month-old is pretty weak and dumb so far, Nolan. Does that mean I shouldn't bother keeping her alive? She's also only lived 1/432nd as long as me, so how could I possibly care about her, right? No way I'd throw myself into a writhing pit of white spikes for her, right, Nolan? No, Nolan is using his longevity and strength as an excuse to believe in and perpetuate his massively flawed supremacist outlook. And obviously, sitting in the audience, again as humans, we're not meant to commiserate with the god being murdering a city. Although I doubt the similarities between this scene and the finale of Man of Steel are lost on you, dear viewer. Spoilers for Man of Steel, I guess, too. The main difference is the focus. While Batman v Superman attempted to address the massive loss of life that was only implied in Man of Steel itself gives us one family and forces Supes to kill Zod to save them. I mean, Zod literally forces him. But Invincible is different? For this finale, Kirkman didn't just have one pilot die or even one child as the hammer to nail his point home. In fact, I think it's fair to say he didn't even use a hammer to nail the point home. He smashed the nail with an excavator bucket, destroying the house in the process. It's a house we're nailing with all these points, right?
No.
Unlike Man of Steel, in Invincible, we focus on the death. It's the message Nolan is trying to tough love into his son's mushy head that nothing matters when you're us. He even goes so far as to try to act like Mark doesn't matter to him. It's funny, I remembered this scene differently because I thought it was a big allegory for how terrible tough love can be and how it never works, probably because I'm a dad and choosing anything over my son just does not compute. But it's actually Nolan choosing to beat his son into submission only to learn that he was wrong, that some things and some people do matter, but I'm getting ahead of myself. What I love and also hate about this scene is the seemingly gratuitous escalation of violence. It's stomach-turning. I found myself shocked by what I was seeing, which is impressive because It's the second time in the show. It's an escalation from the first time my jaw hit the ground. I had expectations of how far they'd go visually based on that scene, and they were smushed into goo. The gore, the literal guts, it's revolting. And because it's animated, my brain says, maybe this is okay to watch? But I know I'll be thinking about it later. And while the visuals are repulsive, that wasn't what really hit me. It was the casual ending of life that stuck with me. It's not like the show had ever been bashful about killing humans, but I still felt like a line had been drawn in the sand about how far they would go. And then the bodies started dropping, and it was clear that no one was safe. So the intense hyper-violence combined with the trauma Nolan puts his son through, because let's be honest, this subway scene is traumatizing, and I was just watching it from a screen, not living it with my face. It's just so brutal. Like the first scene, it feels beyond anything mainstream we've seen in recent years. I can't turn my eyes away, but I can't truly look at the screen either. It's so next level violent, so heartless that we're stunned. Almost to the point that we forget Omni-Man's point is very incredibly stupid. His whole argument sucks. And that's not a critique of the writing. I believe the character is a deliberate critique of that might is right mindset held by supremacists and fascists and hate groups and bullies who never grew up, who never grew out of the need to win every scenario and punish the marginalized in the process. Ultimately, there's a lot more in here concerning imperialism and fascism, and who knows where the show is going with it all, but one thing is for certain. It all comes crumbling down when Mark blindsides his dad with the answer to one question.
What will you have after 500 years?
You, Dad. I still have you.
And that's it. All Nolan's bloviating amounted to nothing. His senseless mass murder was just that, senseless. It changed nothing. Mark may be from another planet and his blood may be almost pure, but it's the human side of him that unwinds the god. Mark's quiet, simple words paint a picture of the value of human life that a subway tunnel soaked in viscera couldn't cover. So even though this might not look like the face of a hero who won, Omni-Man loses. Well, hello there. If you don't already know, this is a huge collaboration set up by Nando V Movies, much like we've done in the past, this time in celebration of James Gunn's Suicide Squad coming out. And while you'd probably expect the movie guy to pick a movie, I wanted to talk about Invincible because I really like the show and I don't usually get to talk about TV shows, so there's that. But check out the playlist, there are a bunch of other awesome videos from a bunch of your favorite YouTubers, all talking about one scene with a villain in it, or, you know, one villainous scene. As for the next Everything Great About video, it will be next week, and I very bizarrely referenced it in this video because I planned on doing it before this video, and then it didn't happen, so now it's gonna happen after. All right, until next time, Spider-Man, see I'm a villain now, okay.